Hello, welcome to the IRB version 5.2, the latest version, and this is the latest demo. And I'm going to try and be as quick as possible. There's a bit to get through, but it's not complicated. It's very self-explanatory. So without procrastinating, let's just get involved. So to set up the shape for your IRB, just a shape. As long as it's got subdivisions, it'll be all right. So I'm just going to brush in a plane. Rotate it on the X, and I'm going to subdivide it physically 1, 2, 3, 4 times, and then I'm going to drop on a subdiv. Generate. Still getting used to this subdivision, and I have 3 on that. That's dependent on your system, and then to get the IRB, you just want to append it, which I believe is it edit or file append. I can't remember. Where's append? This isn't a beginner's tutorial. Append. The IRB, which in my case is going to be here. So then just click append, and then in your shader editor you will have it right there. Because it got subdivisions, it comes out quite nice. So to go through this, you've got 20 formations, and excuse me, you can go between formations 1 and 10 and formations 11 and 20. You can mix them all, but we'll get to that. So because it's on 0, we're using formations 1 to 10, and I won't go through all of them, but just slide in what you want, see what you know. If you think there's not enough because that looks a bit weak, under each formation there's a strength specifically to that, which I'll show you the importance of that. So if I'm not too happy with the strength of that, just bump it up a bit. There's an overall strength as well, but oh, I didn't mention this, object UV. I'm in UV mapping. I tend to be in UV mapping all the time because there's much more control. I could be in object, but it's going to change the scale and the strength and everything. I tend to be in UV mapping. I would recommend that because, as I say, there's more control. So just mixing in them, you can do that. And if I wanted to mix in a different formation, maybe I want some formation 7, simply slide in a bit, and all the way I've got fully formation 7. But if I'm just adding in maybe 0.4432, so let's say I like that, but I'm not seeing enough formation 1, and that's where the individual strengths come in. So now if I put 2 on formation 1, it's pushing through this 0.4 of formation 7 more so. So maybe you want a bit more. So you'd find a balance, and you don't have to stop there. You can mix in a bit of formation 9 if you want. What is a formation 9? It's that apparently. It's like the elephant's foot at Chernobyl disaster. But yeah, so you can mix in all these, and the good thing is you can mix in all 20, which I'll show you now. So that was 1 to 10. If I go over to 11 to 20, now I've got all these. And again, you can go through these at your own time, at your own pace. And if I'm not happy with the strength, I can just bump up the strength, overall strength, and that will affect all of these rather than just a couple of them. And the mixing works in the same way. But in order to mix in all 20, you need to be allowing some of formations, the first few formations, to come through. So if I go at 0.4%, obviously I put the strength way up. So now I'm mixing half of formations 1 to 10 and formations 11 to 20. So I'll be able to see if I mix in formation 20. It will only be 50% of formation 20 because it's only 50% into these formations. So using that, you can mix in all 20 to make whatever shape, hence the infinite nature of the thing. One thing to note is if you're mixing in, the more you mix in, the more computationally heavy it becomes. The calculations take longer, hence the render time becomes way longer. So if you've just got render in formation 1, it'll be super quick. Render formation 1 mixed in with another 6 formations, you're adding more time. Not significant, but enough to be noticeable. So that's the formations. Before I move on, there is one. If you're all happy with that, and you're still not quite happy, so say I've mixed in formation, I don't know, formation 7, and I like it, but I would like a little bit more control just on the strength. And you've got that. If you click on the group and press tab, you're then inside the group, and each formation has its own group. So I've picked formation 7. So if I just find formation 7, hello, we're at 6, 7. Okay, so if I'm in this group, I can now change formation 7 from here. So there's even more control of the shape. You can literally do what you want, just whatever. You can get so many different styles of wall and rock. Yeah, like I said, it's infinite. And to get out, you can either press tab or control tab. Will get you back out of the group. Okay, so that's the formations done. Let's move on. Cliff top flatten, like it says, flattens the top of the cliff. Just if you want to round it off, maybe it's going over and you want to put some grass on top, you can just use this to flatten it. It's on object mapping, which would be generated from a texture coordinate. If I go to UV, you'll see it moves. And again, I would mostly use UV for this reason, cliff top and sea level, which we'll get to. So my UV editor up here, if I make sure that's selected, and it will make sure whatever you select in here will be selected here, but I want all of it. So I'm just going to turn off my overlay. So I can edit where this cliff top flatten is by moving the UVs. So if I bring it all the way up, and nothing there. So you can edit it that way, or in the group, on the IRB group itself, you've got a height, and that's because we're in formation 7. We're in 1 to 10, so I can use this and just shift drag to change the height of that flattening process. All right, that's cliff top flatten. Let's go to ambient dust, which makes, I'm sure it just those black cracks there. That's what that's doing. And to control that even more, up here is the dust shape. So if you brought in the black slider, you're extending how far out the black goes. So I could be really contrasty, but that looks like a cartoon. So do what you will with that. Okay, so we can lose the ambience. I always have a bit in there. It's just ambient occlusion, basically. And the color, yeah, don't need to explain that, I don't think. For now, just a little bit of sheen if you want it. Minor difference, but that's there. Bump, don't need to explain that. Okay, so the sea level cover roughness sea level mix. Cover roughness being what it is right now, which is all over, and that's this color, cover roughness color. If I change that, don't pick color. It's black or white. It's going into the roughness. So if it's white, it's non-reflective. If it's black, it's completely reflective. So you only need to go white or black. You don't need color in that. And the sea level mix, if I mix that in, it's going to darken and add reflectivity to a level. So if this plane was in water, you'd want this to reflect where the water had been. And the same again, 2D height. So you can bring the water level up using that. If you're in UV mapping, which we will now, same thing applies. If you head in and move the UVs, you will find it. It's there. So I could just move the UVs to get it, or or I can use this height. The reason of the 2D 3D switch is if I added maybe I was making a boulder. Excuse me. I'm just going to very quickly copy the modifiers and the materials. So I'm just basically adding another subdiv to that. And if I put the cover roughness, sea level roughness, hang on, let me try object. Okay, so cover roughness C, we're on the sea level. You can see it's on here, it's going up, down. On the 3D shape, it's going left to right. So if I switch to 3D, it will drop it to the bottom. And then with 3D height, now you can change where that sea level is. Okay, that's that. Moss, I'm going to delete this because that's going to get in my way. So the moss, you drop that in, that will only be, it's based on the normals on the Z-axis, so they should always be on the top of the rocks. If for some reason you've made a shape and the moss isn't on the top, it's on the side or whatever, just rotate the geometry until the moss is in the right place. I would recommend putting moss, if you're going to have moss on the rock, put it in at the beginning before you really get into making your shape, and then just make sure you rotated the geometry the right way to get cracking, and then build your shape from there. And you can control how much. This is based on screen, so if I brought black in, it would be real contrasty. If I had no black, the whole thing is going to be covered with green. So you're just setting a bit of contrast there, a bit more green. Change that to white, it looks like snow. Bush. So moss mix, done that. Yep. Colors, okay, so the colors, excuse me, two colors, two sets of colors. So let's say using this mixer, if I go to mix, at 1, I'm fully mixed to color 2. Let me get rid of the moss so that we don't have that getting in the way. So you can see now it's only using these two colors, and just like any other color ramp you would affect, you know, you could change how it looks. And then if I go to color 2, I can move, edit it from here. So less detail, more detail, you get the gist. If I was on 0, it would be color 1, which does the same thing. You can edit that using this. And using this, you can mix them both, which I regularly do. So I like color dodge, but I've got to mix in. So now it's mixing both of them using this, color 1 and 2. Okay, and the texture baking is covered in another tutorial guide. Sorry, don't like calling it tutorial. Okay, so now if I show you how I would set up a rock face that I want. If I'm about to make a scene and I'm about to make a rock face, this is how I'd do it. I'd add a plane. I always start with a plane, and I'm not going to subdivide this yet, but I am going to add the herb. Yeah, I'm just linking the materials. Okay, and I do this at the very beginning to get the shape that I want, because you'll see what happens when we start extruding. You'll see what happens. Right, this is going to make it a circle, but that's fine. I'm just going to put that on maybe 5. Okay, yeah, 6. And all I need to do, once I'm happy with the shape I've got, I might, maybe I'm going to take that up to 7. You got to type that in, just because there's not enough geometry. So when you edit in, when you tab into edit mode, because we're going to edit the shape, I haven't got my overlay on. Up here under options, you have this correct face attributes. Tick that, and that means you don't have to re-unwrap, because it's going to, if you, whatever unwrap option you chose, this should follow it, assuming you keep the same size faces. And what I mean by that is I'll show you. So if I extrude out, I want the wall to go, the rock face to go to the right. Every time I extrude, as long as I kind of keep the faces about the same width, height, you can see that the formation will just follow. It will just fill in whatever you've put in, whatever spaces you've. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just going to change this to my 3D viewports. I'm going to head into right view, because I want to extrude the top a bit. So, oh, not like that though. I need the top line. And then again, I'm just keeping the faces in the right place. Something's gone wrong with sea level there. Oh, I got it. Yeah. And again, that's to do with the, if I wanted sea level, I would put it in at the beginning to make sure I was oriented correctly. But I don't want sea level. So as you can see, the thing has just followed it. So you can go and top and round the whole thing off. And again, I'm just trying to keep the faces roughly the same width and height, so that the rocks don't look stretched or anything. Okay, there you go, and it will just follow it around whatever you do. Okay, so that's how you make your cliff shape. That's how you edit all the bits and bobs. Again, UV I would find is the best way to go, because you need that control if you're intending on like having a sea level or having the moss. Da-di-da. All right, wicked. as quick as I could make it. Enjoy using it. I hope you do as much as I do. I've been Nick, you've been you. So long.